Putin's Russia. Democracy on hard mode. You know how Russia claims it's a democracy? Yeah, that's like claiming instant ramen is technically home-cooked. Since Vladimir Putin strolled into power in 2000 and kind of never left, elections in Russia have become less about honest counting and more like survival shows. Except the only person making it to the final round is, predictably, Putin himself. Media. Basically, it's all just state karaoke night, only the playlist is 100% praise Putin, and any off-key singing lands you in Siberia. There's this recurring magical trick in Russia. Every real opposition figure either gets mysteriously poisoned, jailed, or just, disappears. Even The Economist describes modern Russia as a managed democracy, which is like saying your dog manages not to eat your homework. Propaganda machines run 24/7, pumping out Olympic-level gaslighting. It's democracy as cosplay. As journalist Anna Politkovskaya once put it, society has become a monster that eats its own children. Ouch. But behind the memes and the macho photo ops, the message is clear. Real power is as unreachable as Putin's bare-chested wilderness hikes. In Russia, you vote, but the result was auto-corrected before you even showed up. China's socialist democracy, the ultimate group project. Welcome to China, where the Communist Party throws a democracy-themed birthday party and conveniently forgets to invite any actual opponents. Local elections. Sure, but only for neighborhood committees with the political power of a school hall monitor. The real decisions get made by the party. Think of it as a hyper-controlling parent who expects obedience, but throws in consultation as a treat. President Xi Jinping calls it democracy that works, which is kind of like your group project partner who insists their micromanagement is teamwork. Since 1949, the Communist parties held onto power like a grandma on Black Friday, relentlessly, obsessively, and probably with elbows out. As Liu Xiaobo, a Nobel laureate who, fun fact, accepted his prize from prison, once said, "I have no enemies and no hatred, except the party does, and it's anyone with even mild independent thoughts. Censorship, digital surveillance, and a social credit system that makes every citizen the star of their own Orwellian reality TV show. So is it democracy? Only if your definition involves no competition allowed and the possibility of being ghosted from the internet forever if you tweet the wrong meme. Lukashenko's Belarus, Europe's last dictator, cosplaying elections. Imagine if every time your friend lost at Mario Kart, they just unplugged your controller and swore they won fair and square. Congratulations, you understand politics in Belarus. President Alexander Lukashenko has ruled since 1994, which means he's seen more Nokia model releases than most of us have birthdays. Elections are a regular thing, but so are ballot box stuffings, intimidation squads, and technical errors that always, somehow, result in a landslide for Lukashenko. Belarusian TV. Think Soviet throwback, but with more mustaches and less chill. And if you dare join an opposition rally, pack your toothbrush and a good book. You might be vacationing in jail. 2020's presidential election sparked massive protests after results magically gave Lukashenko 80% of the vote. Seriously, even K-pop stans can't organize numbers like that. The opposition leader, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, fled for her life while Lukashenko declared, with peak irony, the elections were an example of democracy. George Orwell is circling back for the sequel, guys. Venezuela's authoritarian shift. Elections with a plot twist. Once upon a time, Venezuela was the richest country in South America. Fun fact, oil das bling. Fast forward to present times, and it's become something between a telenovela and a cautionary tale for political science freshmen. Hugo Chavez promised socialism with elections, but after his death, successor Nicolas Maduro took the let's win at all costs approach. You still get to vote. That's the plot twist. But opposition politicians tend to get vacation packages to prison, or they just kinda vanish. Newspapers either go silent or start rewriting history. There never was a toilet paper shortage. You hallucinated that. Elections have rules so complicated you'd need 5 lawyers and a crystal ball to participate. Even former US President Jimmy Carter once said, "As a matter of fact, of the 92 elections that we've monitored, I would say the election process in Venezuela is the best in the world." Oh honey, check back in 2024. The government blames every problem on foreign agents, but surprise, it's mostly just shortages, censorship, and reruns of Maduro eating empanadas. Erdogan's Turkey. Democracy, but with plot armor. Turkey used to be the poster child for Middle Eastern democracy, but President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, he's got more plot armor than Jon Snow. Since 2003, Erdogan has mastered the art of winning elections, while making sure he can never lose one. After a failed military coup in 2016, complete with non-stop conspiracy theory TikToks, he unleashed mass purges, journalists, judges, teachers, gone faster than your ex's Instagram after a breakup. There is no more separation of powers. That is over, Erdogan casually admitted, which is basically telling your group chat, I do all the homework now and also set the group rules. Media outlets are now best described as the Turkish version of fan accounts. US historian Timothy Snyder put it best, post-truth is pre-fascism. You're allowed to vote, but if you tweet a meme about Erdogan's hairline, you risk doing serious time. From secular democracy to presidential strongman, Turkey's journey feels less like politics and more like the world's grimmest episode of The Apprentice. Orban's Hungary, how to hack democracy and get away with it. Hungary is that friend whose Instagram profile screams authentic, but everything is face-tuned, including democracy itself. Viktor Orban, prime minister since 2010 and proud architect of illiberal democracy, took one look at Western checks and balances and said, "Cool story, bro, but what if I just win forever?" He's a speedrunner of democratic decline, gerrymanders voting districts until it's as rigged as Mario Party, hands media to his entourage, and uses government funds to smear anyone who disagrees. Orban admits, the new state that we are building is an illiberal state, a non-liberal state. That's like your vegan friend telling you they're on an all-cheese diet, bold and obviously not the point. Critics either get drowned out or sued into oblivion, the go-to defamation suits. On paper, elections happen, but the vibe is, you can order anything off the menu, as long as it's goulash. Hungary's democracy is the ultimate rebrand, same words, completely new algorithm. Singapore's dominant party state, orderly, efficient, and winning by default. Singapore, the country where you can literally get fined for chewing gum. Democracy exists, technically, but it's been dominated by the People's Action Party, PAP, since independence. Elections happen on the dot, but the opposition is treated almost like social experiment participants, watched, studied, and then memory hold. Defamation suits are the government's preferred side hustle. Lose a case, and you might just have to sell your HDB flat. The media? Very much on brand. Former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew once quipped, "We decide what is news, not the journalists." Singaporeans enjoy prosperity and order, so most just quietly let the system play on repeat. Call it benevolent authoritarianism, if you're generous, or winning by default, if you're a rival politician. So yeah, you get ballot papers, but don't expect a plot twist ending. It's efficient, safe, and, let's be real, Kind of a flex until you try to run for office. Iran's theocratic illusion, elected officials on a leash. Iran is what happens when you take democracy, throw it in a blender with theocracy, and hit puree. Yes, they have elections, but all real power lies with the supreme leader, who is basically a real-life boss fight with infinite continues. Candidates are pre-approved by the Guardian Council, a sort of supernatural HR department that vetoes anyone who shows too much personality. Sure, you get to vote for president, but the winners can be overruled by men in robes, and we're not talking Hogwarts. Iranian reformist Mohammad Khatami summed it up. We want democracy, but within an Islamic framework. Sounds dreamy until you realize the framework is 20 feet of concrete and barbed wire. The press, it's like Twitter, but the block button is wielded by the state. Most laws go religious before they go public. In theory, Iran is Islamic Republic. In practice, it's spiritual cosplay, with just enough democracy to keep everyone guessing. Found this video interesting? Leave us a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Let us know what we should cover next in the comments below.